Alright everyone, this is part 2 of day 1. So I made a video this morning, hopefully you watched it, just explaining that over the next little while I'm going to be creating a game out of for the iPhone using Cocos2d and Box2d. So I made that video in the morning, then I went to work, came back and spent a few hours just to get something done for day 1, so I have something to show. So I'm just going to go through what I've done today. So first things first, I had to come up with a game that I'm going to create. As I said earlier, I want it to be sort of a 2D side-scroller type game, which is just something that I'm just curious to see if I can do it. It's very, very difficult for a first game and for the first anything on the iPhone. But I think if I spend a little bit of time on it, I think I should be able to get this. So it's a good challenge for me. The first thing that I am doing is I want to get something down, just so I have some code written. Have a little bit. I'm going to create a bit of a menu and throw an animated sprite on there, because those are two things I know I'm going to need right off the bat. Is a menu, so I'm going to do something basic just to get me going there. And I wanted the animated sprite just to see if I could do it. Obviously, that's going to be all of our the player, and it's going to be all the bad guys and anything else I want animated. So I needed those two things. So the theme of this, taking it out of the 2D side scroller, I wanted to pick a game and then develop sort of a game path or a way that the game is going to be built. And I came up with an idea called Conquer Mars. It's just going to be a side scroller that's going to be about a guy who's walking around Mars. He's got to find certain things, and there's going to be aliens there that he's got to defeat. So I thought I could do some neat graphics for that, so I'm going to give that a try. But before I get into the actual gameplay, I have to figure out if I can do some of these basic things first. So what I did was I started a new project using the Cocos2d and the Box2d template. And then I went through that, and what you are given is these classes right here. So I have my app delegate. You're given a home or a hello world scene and a JLES render. So I took a look at this, and the app delegate, this is just, you have to include this with all apps. This just goes through, and the main thing here, this controls a lot of stuff. The main thing that you can really change is the device orientation, landscape left, which is what I want my game to be played in, landscape. So that's automatically set up for you, so that's no big deal. The one thing that's showing right now is frames per second. This is set to yes to show that. Typically you don't want to do that. Once I get further into my my game development here, I'm going to probably have to turn that off once I get into testing and debugging, because that will, I think that does eat up a little bit of memory. But for now it's fine. We'll just leave it turned to yes. That's the default that the template sets it to. So we'll leave that. And then set animation intervals also in this little section here. There's a lot of other stuff down there, but I won't go through it all. It just controls your app. So, hello world scene and the header and the main file. I didn't touch any of this. I don't want to use this at all. This is just a default, and it actually creates quite a nice little example. When you first run the template, if you go and build and run, you get a little app where you can click to create a block, which then falls based on gravity and lands on other blocks, and it's a good representation of Box2d. But I don't want to use this hello scene at all. I just left it there. What I'm started to do was sort of create a new method of organizing my game here. So I went in and created a scenes folder, and I created two scenes so far. So a menu scene and a game scene here. So the menu scene is going to be the first thing that comes up when you load the app, and it's going to obviously have our menu, so new game, settings, and all that kind of stuff. And then from there, if you were to click new game, you'd go into the game scene, which would which I'm going to put all my game stuff. But since I'm not quite that far on developing the actual game yet, I created a basic menu with one thing, so I can start new game, and a game scene. I've just placed the animated sprite on there, just so I can get used to the menu, the transition over to a new scene, and displaying a sprite. Now to do this, what usually happens is in your other sources, we have our main, sorry, we have our app delegate. I think this is where we can go through here. I remember how I did that. Import menu scene. Yeah, see, what typically happens is when you start your app, it goes directly to Hello World. Didn't want that to happen, so inside the app delegate, I had to switch the import header from the Hello World scene to my menu scene, so it goes directly to there. And I'm just trying to find, I had to change it in one other spot. Oh, right here. Run with scene. Your menu scene. That originally says Hello World scene. I've changed that to be a menu scene and a node of that, which is just representation of that file. So now when the app starts up, it's going to launch directly to this menu scene. So let's go take a look at that. My menu scene, in order to create this, I just created a new file. So you just create new add file, and I picked Objective-C class. Just cancel that, don't want to create a new one. And you're given the M, and you can select to auto create the H file, the header file. So once you're in there, the thing about Box2d is it uses C++, so we have to just change this. It typically says .m, we just rename that to be .mm. But going back to the header file here, all I do is I erased what was there, and I wrote just to import Cocos2d, the header file of that. That's not typically there on Objective-C create new file. And then I did my typical, sorry, this shouldn't be Hello World, this should be menu scene. Scene. And then I have the interface go to menu scene, and that's subclass is CC layer. And then the curly brackets left blank, and then I just return scene, ID scene. Okay. What I did try and do is, by doing that, this is actually a layer, and then I'm returning a scene here. And when you do that, if I just go up the top here, you have to write your scene in right there. Now, I did change this so menu scene was an actual scene, not a layer. But I ran into some problems, so I just left it the way that I've seen it other people do it in tutorials. So, anyways, we'll go into the main thing here. I have my imports, so my header. I also imported the game scene header because that's going to be one of the scenes I go into. Once I create my other menu items, I'll have to import the headers for those particular classes as well. But for right now, implement the menu scene. I have my ID scene listed there. When I go into my initiate, my init method here. So this is a given on all, self equals super. And then this is my menu so far. That's what I've created. So let's explain this real quickly. So I have my my menu, which when you're creating menu in Cocos, you just it's the command is or the item here is cc menu item, and we can do a bunch of different ones here. So if I just erase this, escape out, I think I have item atlas font, just item, menu item image, item label, sprite, toggle, and a bunch of other ones like that. So I'm just going to go back to font here. There we go. When I actually do create my final menu, I'm going to be making them out of images, so I'm going to be changing this. But for now, I just want to get a menu in place, have it go, so when I click on it, it actually transfers over to the game scene. So with the font, all you have to do is set the font name. I'm using marker felt. The font size here of 25. The CC menu item font. We just have to create the text for that font here, and then target itself, and then selector. We're given this new game selector that we'll define later. Every time you create any menu item,